Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, female 26, have been with my boyfriend Adam, male 30, for 4 years. I'm not too close to his family, but was close to my former sister-in-law, brother's-in-law's now ex-wife. My future mother-in-law gave her engagement ring to my brother-in-law to propose to sister-in-law with 3 years ago. It's an important tradition in the family to pass down the ring. And since they have no daughters, sisters, then the ring went to brother-in-law's ex-wife. After the separation, my brother-in-law got the ring back and decided to focus on his kids. Now, since everyone knows that Adam and I are planning to make our relationship official and pursue marriage, which is our goal, his mother suggested he propose with her engagement ring that my brother-in-law already proposed with to his now ex, as mentioned above. Adam was excited with the idea, but I was uncomfortable, solely by the fact that this ring was proposed with more than once, and also it belonged with my former sister-in-law for years, and she had memories attached to it. I feel like this ring already had more than one love story, and I feel I have the right to wear a ring that represents our relationship, and one that belongs to me and Adam. Future mother-in-law wasn't happy with my opinion, and invited me to the church where she hangs out most of the time to talk, and explained that it's a must for Adam, as the youngest, to carry the tradition and propose with this ring, and it was disrespectful of me to not want it, or have an issue with it, since it's of high sentimental value. I explained why I had an issue with it, but she implied I clearly wanted a more shiny and expensive one. After basically shaming and wearing me down for hours about it, I flat out told her that it is between me and Adam, but he agreed with her, and said my logic doesn't make sense, and asked if I'd refuse to buy an apartment just because someone else owned it. But an apartment is different than an engagement, which, in my opinion, should be a symbol of our love. But my statement was met with a, "I don't get it. You really think a ring is more important than us being on the same page and understanding each other? Besides, that's what my mom wants, and to be completely honest with you here, I'm just trying to keep the peace and stay on her good side, which is what you should be doing too right now, instead of already starting an unnecessary drama and setting a bad tone for your relationship with mom." I asked why he thought his mom's opinion was equal or more important than mine, and he got offended and said I was insulting his mom and he won't let me do that next time. He refused to discuss it any further, saying this was a ridiculous hill for me to choose to die on, and should be honored to be given the opportunity to hold on to something as valuable as his mom's engagement ring. All I see here is a mama's boy who feels so happy that he doesn't need to spend money on an engagement ring. Looks like OP's mother-in-law is testing the waters to see how much control she'll have in OP's marriage. And if OP hands it over now, she'll be setting herself up for a lifetime of catering to her wants in OP's own marriage. And of course OP's opinion matters, since this ring is supposed to be on her finger. Traditions can be important, but not at the cost of making someone uncomfortable. I'd suggest that the ring go back to OP's brother-in-law to pass down to one of his kids, and OP gets a new ring. However, I think OP needs to reconsider joining this family, if this is a sign for how disagreements go with OP's boyfriend picking his mom over OP, without even trying to see OP's side. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Certain people says, "Not the a-hole, and you can see how this relationship is going to go forever. His mother will always be more important than you, and he will appease her anytime she starts drama. The fact he is explicitly putting in these terms already shows he knows she will. Is this something you're prepared to deal with for the rest of your life?" Goth Penguin says, "Not the a-hole, but get out of this relationship because you've just seen what the rest of your life is going to be. It'll start with the ring and continue with the two of them making every decision for your relationship with him." Psychology Automatic 3 says, "Not the a-hole for telling your future mother-in-law you do not want her ring. It's already attached to a failed marriage in the generation. You're the a-hole if you don't reconsider marrying this man and into his family." I, male 33, hadn't always raised my daughter, Sal, female 17. I was way too young and too preoccupied with studying and furthering my work as an artist. Her mother also wasn't too ecstatic about parenting, and just never really wanted kids in the first place. Therefore, Sal was mainly raised by my older brother, male 42, and his partner. I've mostly stayed away. She was happy living with Noah and his wife, so I never interfered as I didn't want to unsettle her. Recently, however, we've been talking some more and trying to forge a relationship. Sal has got my nose, and she isn't happy with it. She said before that she can't wait until she's able to get a rhinoplasty operation. I can see why. We've both got absolutely huge crooked noses. She does rather suit it. It complements her face well, especially her lips and big eyes. I've put my own opinions on her nose aside though, and for her 17th birthday, I managed to get her an appointment to get her nose done. When I told her about it, she was ecstatic and even excited to get it done. We even went on a trip down to London, where she had her consultation. Nose jobs for under 18s have to be approved by a surgeon first. Visited the V&A. I let her drag me around all the boring galleries and museums she wanted to see. It was a very good bonding moment. When I told Noah and her mom that the surgery was approved, Noah ended up getting upset and angry. He said that I had no right to alter Sally's appearance, and her mom agreed, saying that Sal should learn to love her insecurities rather than rushing into surgery. I told them that I wasn't altering her appointment. Sal has wanted a nose job. That's her prerogative. I've said that Sal shouldn't be forced to learn to accept her nose. If she wants it looking different, then it is totally up to her. After all, it is her nose. I've mentioned that I had Botox done when I was around her age, and I've never regretted it. Since then, Noah and his wife have accused me of being shallow and have been very icy. Sal still wants the nose job though. My girlfriend has said that giving her the option to pay for her nose job was a good present. However, maybe we should wait until she's at least in her 20s. OP didn't raise her and probably doesn't know her that well. I think OP's brother is right because he knows her better than OP. Looks like OP thinks he can just swoop in parenting his daughter, who he and her mother abandoned to Noah and his wife so many years ago. It sounds like OP is trying to buy her love instead of earning it. If she still wants a nose job in her 20s, then that's when OP should pay for it in my opinion. And now let's hear what the community thinks on the matter. Bulbasaur Ranch says, "This feels like you overstepped. She's not an adult yet, and it should be her parents' decision on things like this. I get it, you're her father, but you're really just a fun uncle at this point. You're the a-hole." Happy Banana 134 says, "You're the a-hole. This isn't parenting. You're throwing money at the situation to try to find an easy win with your daughter. I've had 2 nose operations, and let me tell you, they are ducking horrible, and there are risks involved. You want to play dad without actually doing the work your brother and his wife have had to do as a result of your past behavior." Training Dearest says, "You're the a-hole. You aren't the custodial parent and have no legal authority over her. A fact that you likely did not tell the surgical center. You are setting them up for a lawsuit, or at the very least, putting their medical licenses at risk. If this is something that she really wants to do, then all this can happen when she is legally able to make the decision for herself. It can wait." Me, female 36, have been dating my boyfriend, 40, for about a year and a half. A few months ago, my mother asked me on a phone call if we were serious and planning to get engaged. I responded yes, as this is something he and I have discussed and both want. She immediately responded, "That's great," followed with, "Don't expect your father and I to pay for another for the wedding," because she said, "We're too old. This will be important later." This was completely unprompted, as I had never asked. To this, I responded that he and I don't really want a wedding, and we're not sure what we'll do after engagement and when it comes time to plan. Her response was that I better not elope again, and she expects a nice wedding of some kind, regardless of the size. For context, I eloped with my first husband, and she was embarrassed and devastated. Her words. We ended the phone call by me saying she can't have expectations if she's not willing to contribute, and that I wasn't even engaged yet, and we'll talk about it later. My boyfriend and I don't make a ton of money, and probably cannot afford even a small ceremony and wedding dinner for even 10 people, if we're being honest. We're fine, but we don't have $4,000 lying around, and let's be honest, even with a tiny wedding, you're looking at that amount. Anyways, fast forward a few months, and my twin, so same age, brother gets engaged. We're all very excited for him. Last night, my mother and I were discussing his plans, as I was trying to get the scoop, and my brother's kinda tight-lipped about things. She lets it slip in our phone call that they're planning a large wedding, and my parents are footing half the bill, splitting it with the bride's parents. I reminded her of our conversation, and she immediately called me a jealous brat and ended the phone call. Am I the a-hole for being upset? Well, looks like OP's mom's got some double standards going on. OP is not a jealous brat for expecting some consistency. OP's mom is clearly favoring OP's brother. Children should be treated equally, and I would be very hurt as well if I was OP. I think OP needs to do what works for her and continue setting boundaries with them. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Pristine Parking 5202 says, "Not the a-hole. Your mom got caught out on her BS and got defensive. You deserve to know why your mom is willing to throw down big money on a wedding, but to pay for your hypothetical wedding of an undetermined size would be a solid no. It's not about the money, it's about the intent, and that seems very hurtful." Pandaland 447 says, "Not the a-hole. The type of wedding you have is what you and your significant other want. Just because your mother wants to show off a big event to friends is irrelevant. Favoring your brother by giving him a big event is also pretty douchey." BS Detector 2023 says, "Not the a-hole. Wouldn't be surprised if your parents, or your mother specifically, is holding a grudge towards you for eloping the first time, and that's why they aren't willing to help you pay for your second wedding if you were to have one." This past Christmas, my mother got my daughter, Amy, 4 female, a doll she'd been asking for. It's a baby version of Maribel from the Disney movie Encanto. It quickly became her favorite. My husband's cousin, Nat, has a daughter I'll call Julie, 6 female. I wouldn't classify her as spoiled, but she does have a tendency of disobeying other people. There have been numerous occasions in which I asked Julie to do something. "Please sit down, please don't touch that," etc. And she either ignored me or went behind my back to do the opposite. While I understand that she's a child, Nat rarely makes any attempt to educate her daughter or correct her behavior. Last week, Nat and Julie came to visit us with some other relatives. Julie saw the Maribel doll and asked my daughter if she could play with her. Amy refused. Julie protested, but I spoke with the girls and managed to get them to play with other toys. Sometime later, the kids sat down to watch TV while me and the others got dinner ready. When we came back to the living room, Julie was gone. After a short search, we found her in my bathroom. She had taken not only the Maribel doll, but also my nail polish carrying case. Julie had used my nail polish to paint the doll's hair, face, and dress. It covered most of her facial painting, matted her hair, and ruined her clothes. Amy saw what happened and was devastated. When we asked Julie what she was doing, she said she was giving the doll a makeover. Nat and Julie left in a hurry. The next day, I asked Nat what she planned to do about it. She suggested that the girls apologize to each other, Julie for painting the doll, Amy for not sharing it in the first place, and hug it out, and offered to give me a couple new bottles of nail polish. I made it clear that Amy didn't need to apologize, and while I didn't care about the nail polish, they cost $4 and Julie didn't empty the bottle she used. I did expect Nat and her husband to replace the doll. Nat refused. She said that it wouldn't be fair for her to waste money over an innocent mistake a child had made. She also doesn't think Julie should be the only one apologizing, as none of this would have happened if Amy had agreed to share in the first place. I asked her twice. She said no both times. Finally, I called her husband and explained the situation. He apologized profusely and agreed to buy Amy a new doll. He stopped by on Saturday and gave it to us. He also brought Julie along and made her apologize to Amy. Apparently, Nat and her husband fought over this, as she kept insisting that Julie was just a child and they owed us nothing. So now, in addition to saying it was entitled of me to expect a new doll, she is blaming me for their fight. My husband is on my side, but my mother-in-law thinks I should apologize, as this is blown out of proportion, and I could have dealt with it more gracefully. She also thinks it was wrong of Amy to refuse to share. Am I the a-hole? Forgeress says, "Every sane person is on your side, so not the a-hole. At least Spoiled Girl's dad had some common sense running in him. I wonder, why do people hang out with crap relatives and then complain about issues that they cause? I give everyone a fair chance, and if they blow it, then they are gone out of my life, and I couldn't care less about them whining and complaining. Everyone gets what they deserve." Penalty Aggressive 810 says, "Oh my God, how infuriating. There's no reason your daughter should have had to share her doll in the first place. Mother-in-law is way out of line for that. Your daughter shared her other toys. You know damn well that other little girl did that to your daughter's doll deliberately out of spite. I'm angry at you for even considering for a moment that you're wrong in this. The other daughter's mother is so far out of line it's insane. Not the a-hole, and for the love of God, Never let those a-holes in your house again. Fragrant Economist 386 says, "Not the a-hole. Nat is not raising her daughter right. Fortunately, her husband seems to have more of a handle on how things should be done. As for your daughter, she should not be made to apologize for not sharing. You have the right to refuse sharing the stuff that is important to you. Julie is heading for a difficult life if her mother is allowed to determine her direction." I, male 43, have been married to my wife, female 40, for 15 years. We have a son who is 12 years old. I really love my wife. I adore and idolize her. Seriously, she is the best thing that has ever happened in my life. I think I'm willing to give my life for her and her happiness. All this time we have been living a really happy life with her, and we have never had any arguments or misunderstandings. But there was one incident. As it turned out, when our son was 8 years old, my wife had an affair partner. I didn't know about him. Their relationship continued until last year when our son turned 11. That's when my son told me about this piece of crap. My wife was taking him home to her affair partner, and our son saw their relationship, but was afraid to tell me for 3 years. It's been a tough year since everything came to light. First, I dealt with this a-hole. Then my wife and I had a long talk with each other and figured out what brought us to this situation. We moved to another city, changed jobs, and finally, we're living a happy life again. I just adore my wife, and I will never leave her. Yesterday, my son had a fight with my wife. The teacher at school complained about our son's behavior to my wife. My wife at home began to reprimand our son, and he only snapped, defended himself, claimed that the teacher misunderstood everything, and he did nothing wrong. And all this time, he did not want to listen to what was being said to him. I, of course, also intervened in the argument and defended my wife. Finally, my wife couldn't stand it and told him that he should go to his room immediately. My son snapped back, "Command your John." That's what I'll call her ex-affair partner's name. Rage immediately boiled up in me, and I told our son that his mom was right and he should go to his room immediately. I also deprived him of his PlayStation, phone, and pocket money. When he asked what the punishment was for, I told him that his mom's personal life was none of his business, and who was he to judge his mom? I'm a husband, and I have to deal with those things, not a 12-year-old boy. Aggressive Cup says, "So your wife made your son an accomplice to her affair, and he's had to deal with that for 3 years? And now because you want to forget that your wife cheated on you for 3 years and took your son to John's house while doing it, your child also has to just get over it? Your child does not respect his mother. That is the consequence of her actions. Your son does not respect you. That is the consequence of your reaction to everything. You're punishing your son for reacting to the mess you as his parents made. You're the a-hole." Spasm says, "You're the a-hole. Not only did you uproot his life completely for your issues, he also had to witness his mom having a secret affair for 3 years, and somehow it's none of his business?" Economy Reference says, "You're the a-hole, and way to make your son the scapegoat for the anger you should be feeling toward your wife for cheating on you. I see you make all kinds of negative comments about the man she had an affair with, but no negative comments about the woman who took vows with you. It is your son's business. She put the affair right in your son's face, so he witnessed it.